Hare Krishna, thank you everybody for coming tonight to our Balarama-Purnima festival. You can now all turn and face the seat. We'll have tonight's talk, which will be given by Balaram Prabhu. Almost all of you know Balaram Prabhu, but he is our long-time, the oldest brahmachari living in the temple here. Not oldest in age, but oldest in years in the ashram. Balaram's been here since 2006, so he's been in the ashram almost 20 years. He's the temple president here. He manages all of the difficulties of the temple. And he's also preparing to take sannyas vows too, so he's also doing more traveling and giving classes in many other parts of the country and other countries too. So tonight he will speak on Balarama-Purnima, what it means, what it's about for those of you who are here for the first time.
All right, thank you. I have cartoons. Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Yes, so we welcome everyone again to Sri Balarama-Purnima. And tonight, in celebration of that, we will read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, instructions for civilized human beings. I guess there's instructions for uncivilized human beings as well. Huh? So these are instructions for civilized human beings. Chapter 15, text 45. So 7:15:45. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. All right, here's the Sanskrit. I'll just chant and then I'll read the English. Yavan nikaya ratam atma vishopikopam datte grihishta charanaya nishatam gyanasim achuta baloda dat asta shatru swananda tushta upashanta idam vijayat. All right, translation. As long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge, and with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. So what are the enemies above? Few of them here. Illusion, fear, madness, fault-finding, deception, envy, intolerance. Also mentions sleep here. Interesting. Never think about sleep as an enemy, right? Might think of it as a friend. So different things are mentioned here. Ignorance. So, all right. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, text 9, the Lord says, Janma karma chame devyam evam yo vititattvataha taktva deham punor janma naitimam itisorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature, Krishna speaking, of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Arjuna, this is the highest perfection of life, and the human body is meant for this purpose. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 20, Text 17, Nirdeham adyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru-karṇadhāram mayanukulyena nabhasvatenritam puman bhavadim nataretsa atmaha. The human form of body is a most valuable boat, and the spiritual master is the captain, guru-karṇadhāram, to guide the boat in plying across the ocean of nescience. The instruction of Krishna is a favorable breeze. One must use all these facilities to cross over the ocean of nescience. Since the spiritual master is the captain, one must serve the spiritual master very sincerely, so that by his mercy one will be able to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. A significant word here is achyuta bala. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. One must first please the spiritual master, and then one automatically pleases Krishna and gets the strength with which to cross the ocean of nescience. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmalitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bakam Garitivachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakripadamaham Bande Shri Gurundinitarinam Vanchakapadvibhishcha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This is an interesting addition. I just saw the flags going across the ceiling like that. I never saw that before here, so get some credits for creativity there. So the first point being brought up in the purport here is that, we do have enemies in life. Generally, people like to think or imagine that the enemies are external, based on race or religion or whatever it may be, bodily different, based on the bodily concept of life. But actually, the real enemies in material existence are actually the internal enemies, or the enemies within the heart, which have been stated in the previous verse. We just read a few of them. Envy, ignorance, intolerance, bewilderment, fault-finding, illusion, fear, greed, all of these different things. These are actually considered to be the enemies. So as Srila Prabhupada's making, our teacher's making the point in the purport of the commentary, he's making the point that by the practice of Krishna consciousness, by serving the guru or the spiritual teacher, one gets the strength from Krishna to not be bewildered by those enemies, or not be conquered by those enemies in life. So the principle of guru is important. And it says that Lord Balaram, he's the original guru, and all gurus after that are considered to be representatives of him. So we're celebrating Balaram's appearance day, or his birthday. Sometimes when people hear about this, they don't like it. They don't like that there's an idea out there that one should not approach God directly. They think that they could approach God directly. But the idea is that one has to approach God, or one has to approach Krishna through his representatives. That's the idea. Once in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada, he's here to my left, he had a number of disciples in San Francisco. And one day, one of his disciples came in the door when he was giving a talk. And he started, he was crying and he was crawling towards Srila Prabhupada while he was giving the talk. So you can imagine the scene. It was quite dramatic. Like, imagine somebody just barges in the door and they're crying and they start crawling on the floor to me. So that's just so you could have some visual picture. So you can imagine that. So that's what happened. So he's crying, crawling on the ground, and people are just kind of like, what's going on here? So then Srila Prabhupada was giving the talk, and then this man, he came up to him, and then his disciple, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Srila Prabhupada grabbed him, and his head was on his lap, and then Srila Prabhupada was like this, touching his hair. And then Srila Prabhupada was saying, what's wrong? Why are you crying like this? Why are you making this scene? What's wrong? And the man said, he was quiet for a while. He was just sobbing. And then he said, I want to approach God directly. And then Srila Prabhupada just said, no need for all of this. Why don't you stay with us? We'll take care of you, and this and that. But still, he was adamant, I want to approach God directly. And then at one point, he just got up and he left. He exited the door. And that was, and all of the disciples that were sitting there watching this, the students of Srila Prabhupada. So that was like his dramatic exit from Krishna consciousness. So what's being stated here in the purport is that one has to approach through his representatives, Krishna's representatives. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes give an example, and he would use the word, crude example. If one wants to see a materially important person, like the President of the United States or the Prime Minister of India or whatever, some materially important person, if you don't know that person, if you're not close to that person, practically you can't get in the doors. They're not going to let you. But if you know someone who knows that person very closely, like their secretary or so on, then they can arrange a meeting very easily. So that's the idea, that we approach the spiritual master, who's a representative of Balaram, and he gives us access to Krishna. That's the idea, access to God. So this point's being made in the purport. So we'll just continue. If one seriously desires to return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master, for thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and one also gets the grace of Krishna. Simply getting the weapon of Gyan is insufficient. So in other words, just getting knowledge, so the weapon of Gyan, Gyan means knowledge, just getting that is insufficient. Can't just have theoretical knowledge. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general, we're using war term. In general warfare, one must take help from his chariot and horses in order to conquer his enemy. And after conquering his enemies, he may give up the chariot and its paraphernalia. Similarly, as long as one has a human body, one should fully use it to obtain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. So then some verses are quoted glorifying the process of devotional service, process of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. So moving on towards the last purport, or last paragraph. Significant in this verse are the words Gyanasim Achyutabala. Gyanasim, the sword of knowledge, is given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. Balaram is Nityananda. Vrajendra Nandana Shachi Sutta Hoilo Se Balaram Hoilo Nitai. This Balaram comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Papi, Tapi, Yatachilo, Harinama, Udarilo. Their weapon is Sankirtan, Harinam, so the chanting of Hare Krishna, that's their weapon. Thus one should accept the sword of knowledge from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balaram. We are therefore worshipping Krishna, Balaram, and Vrindavan. In the Mundaka Upanishad it is said, Nayam Atma Bala Hinena Labdyo. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balaram. Sri Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Nitaya Karuna Habe Vraja Radha Krishna Pabe. When one receives the mercy of Balaram, Nityananda, one can attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna very easily. If one has no connection with Nitai, Balaram, then even though one is a very learned scholar, Jnani, or has taken birth in a very respectable family, these assets will not help him. We must therefore conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balaram. So Lord Balaram is the older brother of Krishna, and he has a very unique position. I mean, being the brother of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's quite unique, right? But he serves in so many different ways. He expands as all the paraphernalia in Krishna's worship, like Krishna's shoes and umbrella and so many different things. He expands as the temple also. So everything used in Krishna's service is an expansion of Balaram, his elder brother. He also takes a form, a very interesting position as well, as Srimati Radharani's sister, Ananga Manjari. It's another way he serves Krishna. So once when some disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were at the Kumbh Mela. Anyone went to the Kumbh Mela? You were there, right? David was there? Anyone else? This year? I mean, was it this year, right? It was this year. So who went this year? Okay, Jayashri, David. Okay, Joe. Okay, good. Got some Kumbh Mela. It's the largest, right, gathering of people in the whole world, right? Isn't it? Yeah, religious gathering. So some disciples of Srila Prabhupada were there. I believe it was what's the other art? It's not. There's a Kumbh Mela. Then there's the, yeah. So they were there, and they're having a discussion amongst each other. So it was Madhudvisha Prabhu, those of you who know him, and Yamuna Devi, those of you who know her, great devotees of Srila Prabhupada. So they were having a discussion, and they're having a bit of a disagreement. Madhudvisha Prabhu is saying that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is that Krishna is black and Balaram is white. So that was Madhudvisha Prabhu's position. And Yamuna Devi said, no, there's another difference. And she said that the difference is that that Krishna is the only enjoyer of Srimati Radharani. So they're having a bit of a disagreement. So then Tamal Krishna Goswami, another great devotee of Srila Prabhupada, disciple, he heard this and he brought it to Srila Prabhupada to try to get an answer. And his position was that they both can't be right. That was Tamal Krishna Goswami's position. They both can't be right. So he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Madhudvisha is saying that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is that Krishna is black and Balaram's white. Is that right? And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, but Yamuna Devi is saying that the difference is between Krishna and Balaram is that Krishna is the only enjoyer of Srimati Radharani. Is that right? And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that's right. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, yes, but they can't both be right. And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you're right. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, so who is right? And then Srila Prabhupada said, you decide. They're both right. That's those who, that's the answer. They're both right. Differences. So yeah, as it's being stated in the purport that there's Krishna and Balaram. They come. They came 5,000 years ago, around 5,000 years ago. This is the basic principle behind Krishna consciousness, that we accept that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended to this world. That's the basis of Krishna consciousness. For example, what is Buddhism without the appearance of Buddha? There's no Buddhism. What is Islam without the appearance of Muhammad? What is Christianity without the appearance of Jesus Christ? So similarly, what is Krishna consciousness, or what is Bhakti Yoga, without the appearance of Krishna, which we'll be celebrating next Saturday, right? Not tomorrow, but the following one. Big celebration here starting at 5:30 going till 1 a.m. So we accept that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared 5,000 years ago with his elder brother Balaram. But as it's being stated in this purport, they came again as Balaram Hoilo Nitai. Lord Balaram became Nitai, and Krishna, he became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they are the fathers of the Sankirtan movement. They're the founders of the Sankirtan movement, the chanting of Hare Krishna as the main process for God realization and self-realization in this age, which they started around 500 years ago. So within Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Krishna becomes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has a mother, Mother Shachi. So there's a case where Mother Shachi, she had a dream. She had a spiritual dream, a transcendental dream. So in her dream, she dreamt that she had her Krishna Balaram deities there, just like we have nice Krishna Balaram deities on the altar by Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. There's Subhadra's deities. So thank you for giving us that idea. So Shachi, Mother Shachi had her Krishna Balaram deities, and in the dream, she offered them some food. This is a principle in Krishna consciousness. The idea is that we cannot see God with our materially blunt senses, with our material eyes, so we cannot perceive spirit or transcendence or Krishna. So he appears in the form of a deity. And according to the descriptions in the ancient Vedic literatures, there's descriptions of Krishna, and we accept those, and there's a deity made. And we offer things with love and devotion. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta priyachati. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if one offers me a flower, a fruit, a leaf with love and devotion, I'll accept it. So Mother Shachi was doing this in her dream. She was offering. So then, in the dream, Lord Nityananda appears and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. And they go into the altar room. And Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, they start having an argument with the deities, Krishna and Balaram. And Nityananda and Chaitanya, they start saying, these aren't your offerings, they're actually ours. This butter, these sweets, these different preparations, these are actually ours. We're appearing in this time, in this age, so you have to back off from these offerings. So they're fighting like this. So Mother Shachi, she awakens from the dream and she tells Lord Chaitanya this dream, and he appreciates it very much. But then he tells her not to tell anyone, purposes. But so yes, Krishna, Balaram, they come as Gaur-Nitai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. We have our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda on the altar on the left here. On the right, when looking at the altar on the right, you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And on the left, you have Nityananda Prabhu. And they have their arms up, they're dancing, chanting Hare Krishna. So these two brothers, their main business in this particular age of Kali, age of quarrel and hypocrisy, was giving the holy name of Krishna to as many people as possible, and therefore freeing them, delivering them from illusion. And not just delivering them from illusion, but giving them the highest thing, love for Krishna, love for God. So that was their particular business. And It says that they're extremely merciful. They're the most merciful incarnations, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, there's a case where Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram, Nityananda Balaram, he used to wear all types of very expensive jewelry, like gold bracelets and earrings and all different types of things. So some thieves, they decided, okay, we're going to rob him. And they weren't ordinary thieves. They were real bad, guys. It says that the leader of the group was born in a good family, Brahmin family. Those of you know the term. Very good family, but he became corrupted. And he became a thief. He attached to intoxication, and they would even murder people. So really, not nice people. So they thought, let us rob Lord Nityananda. We'll take everything. So Nityananda was staying at one devotee's home there in Navadvip, and then these thieves came. The gang of thieves came. So okay, let's rob him. So they were just about to rob the house, and they were all waiting there, and then they all fall asleep. Some like mystic slumber. They all just fall asleep. And then the whole night passes, actually. So then the sun comes up, and they all look at each other, and they say, what happened? What happened? They're all fighting with each other. But it was a mystic sleep. So then they thought, okay, we're coming back the next night. So then they're there out in front of the house waiting. It's dark, and they're about to come in. And then all of a sudden, they're getting close to the house, and they see these like terribly huge soldiers there, like kind of like soldiers you would only see in modern parlance, like some type of movies or something, like really, intense soldiers there, and they're walking around with like weapons, and they're chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So they see all these soldiers, and they're just like, okay, we better not mess with these guys. So they retreat. They come back 10 days later for the third time, right? Third time's a charm. This is where the saying comes from, actually. Maybe. So they come back, and they're about to rob. They're just attempting the third time, and they're getting close to the house, and all of a sudden they all go blind. They go blind. All the whole gang goes blind, and they're falling into ditches, and there's scorpions biting them and snakes biting them. It's just like a really terrible scene. And it says that rain starts pouring down heavily. So they're really suffering out there. And all of a sudden, the leader, something comes to his mind. And then he has this realization that he's messing with the wrong person. That Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram. Nityananda Prabhu is, expansion of Krishna, Balaram, and all-powerful. And so he has this realization, and he starts offering all of these beautiful prayers, and pretty much he just surrenders himself. And his whole gang surrenders, actually. And then they're brought to the highest level of love for God or love for Krishna. They're crying, and they're rolling on the ground, and all of these wonderful things, ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. So Nityananda Prabhu, he tells them, the gang, afterwards, he says, now you could go and help the other people in the town, other gangs. So it's interesting because this person was practically coming to harm Nityananda, to kill him or try to kill him and rob him. But he even though that's the case, he was given the highest thing. So you could see how merciful Nityananda Balaram is that even if somebody approaches him for wrong motives, still he'll bless them. There's also the Jagai and Madai pastime. Those most are familiar with that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So on this particular day, we can meditate on Balaram, we can meditate on the mercy of Nityananda Balaram, and how even though we may be lacking so many qualifications, but if we approach Balaram, Nityananda Balaram, and we offer sincere prayers and try, they will bless us, or he will bless us, and we'll be successful in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so does anybody have any question or comment? What's for dinner? I'm not going to tell you. Yes. Yes, first you and then Siddhanta Prabhu. But we have some special things for dinner, I could tell you that. We have devotees cooking in there all day, and we also have a devotee from Srila Prabhupada disciple, Argentina. She's been cooking all day, some special preps, so yeah, with her daughter. Yes?
Going back to the beginning of the lesson where you can't...
Venezuela, yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, can you hear me? Okay, hello. Okay, going back to the beginning part of the lesson where you talked about you can't just approach God direct. You have to have that. It's funny because I learned that lesson in a different way. Years ago, when I was working for the government, I was a 16-year-old kid working part-time, and I had this brilliant idea, and so I walked into the Commodore's office as a little part-time employee at 16, and I gave him my brilliant idea for what to do at this naval base. I found out the next day through my direct supervisor that there is this thing called the chain of command.
Yes.
And I learned a hard lesson that day. It was there is a chain of command in every area of life. Now, I would not have thought that it would apply here, because I would think that I could just talk to God anytime.
Mm-hmm.
But I do need to go through others.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sometimes very difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different, like in a material sense, when we think about things and chains of command and all of this, people generally think of, oh, like exploitation, you know, or whatever it may be. But in the spiritual sense, there's nothing like that. It's completely different. That the spiritual master is an authentic representative of God means he represents everything that Krishna stands for, his kindness, his tolerance, all of these things. Yeah, so it's different in that sense. So we shouldn't be fearful of approaching a spiritual master, approaching the devotees and trying to connect ourselves with Krishna. Like, we shouldn't be fearful that we're going to be cheated, but we've been cheated in material existence so many times. This relationship, that relationship, this person, that person, in different ways. So we have a little bit of a hesitation. But as Krishna says, Ma Sutraha, do not fear, do not worry. And that's the process he gives. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya, that you should approach a spiritual master, inquire confidentially, render service. They can enlighten you because they've seen the truth. That's the process he gives.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, so personal prayer.
Yeah, personal prayer is fine. I mean, like we're chanting on our beads every day. We're having kirtan every day. We do pray directly to, we pray to Krishna. We could pray to Krishna. But when we see Krishna, Krishna's not alone. He has his associates. He's always there with his intimate associates. And the spiritual master is also one of those intimate associates. So.
But it's okay to pray.
Yeah, it's okay to pray. Yeah, pray.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay,
yes.
That's what I was asking.
Siddhanta Prabhu, thank you for coming tonight. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna. So, who is stronger, Krishna or Balaram?
Uh-oh. Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. Good one. Well,
According to Srila Prabhupada.
who is leaning on who? Huh? Who is leaning on who? Balaram's leaning on Krishna? Is it? That's confirmation from everybody? Okay, so Balaram's leaning on Krishna. Now, I do remember reading something about this, but I am forgetting. But I know that you know, so please.
You were right. Krishna is stronger because Balaram is resting his
Yes.
shoulder, his
Yes.
arm on Krishna's shoulder.
Yeah,
So,
it's the
Krishna
it's the more like the deities we have here. Balaram's resting on Krishna, and Krishna's the right Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda. He's from him. Everyone's coming. So you'd say Krishna is more strong. Of course, Balaram's elder brother, and there's a certain rasa there where Balaram's protecting and so on. I think Bajranarayan Swami has some more. Thank you for that. Nice.
I just wanted to add, at the same time, simultaneously one and different is one of our cornerstone principles of philosophy. Krishna likes to serve his devotees. He gets a special taste from insignificant devotees like me all the way up to his brother Balaram. So while Krishna is stronger, as you have rightly stated, and Siddhanta's rightly stated, simultaneously, on the other side of the coin, Krishna prefers to be in the role of serving his devotees. So I just wanted to add that nuance.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
So I think in like Krishna and Balaram, like are they both are different forms? Are they really different, like or single form? That's another question.
Yeah, they're different. They have separate existence. Yeah. Because when we talk about separate existence, it's a very important point that there has to be the bhakta, and there has to be the process of bhakti, or loving devotional service, and then there has to be Bhagavan, or Krishna. So all these three things have to be there to have a relationship, which is the very essence of Krishna consciousness, really, having a relationship with Krishna and also with the devotees. So separating that idea of separate existence, then it just doesn't work. So yes, Krishna and Balaram, they're separate identities, and they have their preferences, their what they wear and what this and that. For example, Balaram likes honey, a particular type of honey. And Krishna's not really known to like that. So like that, they have different things.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. All right, one last. Yes.
Hare Krishna. What are the symptoms of such a person who is representing Krishna?
Well, one is vacho vegam, manaso krodha vegam, jiva vegam, adadapasta vegam, and so on. That says that a spiritual master is a dhira. And dhira means one who controls their senses, their mind and anger and speech, and all of their senses are under their control. Not independently, but because they engage their senses in Krishna service, they're always engaged in Krishna consciousness, and this way their senses are controlled. But for one who's able to tolerate the urges of the senses, says that they could be a spiritual master, Rupa Goswami says, and make disciples all over the world. So that is one qualification stated in the Nectar of Instruction, the first verse. But there's many throughout the Bhagavad Gita. There's so many, like if you look at the divine qualities, divine and demonic qualities, if you look at the divine qualities, then spiritual master should have those divine qualities. So there's a number of descriptions there. So, yeah, all right. Kanai's pointing at something. Okay. He's pointing at Dayanidhi, or should I say someone. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.